John Wells rubbed his tired eyes and checked the clock. 3:27 a.m., Earth Standard Time. The night shift at Lunar Monitoring Station Echo 7 always felt longer than the day shift. 3 months into his 6-month rotation, and John was counting the days until he could feel real gravity again and see a blue sky. Echo 7 sat on the far side of the moon, hidden from Earth's radio chatter. It was the perfect listening post, with giant dish arrays and quantum sensors pointed toward the stars. The station's job was simple: watch for threats coming from deep space. Need some coffee? Lisa Franklin walked into the monitoring room with 2 steaming cups. John smiled and took one. Thanks, I was about to fall asleep. Don't worry, nothing exciting ever happens here anyway, Lisa said, sitting at her station. She had short blonde hair and a serious face that rarely smiled. Unlike John, she loved the quiet of space and had volunteered for 3 rotations already. How many more signals from dying stars do we need to catalog? John sipped the hot coffee. Well, it's better than the asteroid tracking I did last year. At least the lights are pretty. He pointed to the main screen showing a colorful nebula they'd been monitoring. I guess beauty is everywhere if you look hard enough, Lisa said, checking her readings. Even in the most empty parts of space. Speaking of empty, John said, I've been meaning to ask why you keep coming back here. Most people can't wait to leave. Lisa was quiet for a moment. My husband died in the last war. He was on the Pacific coast when the bombs fell. She looked at the stars on the screen. I feel closer to him out here, like maybe his atoms are part of the cosmos now, and I'm listening to them. John didn't know what to say. The last war had ended 15 years ago, but its scars remained. His own parents had lost their home in the fighting. The war had ended only when the Titans, humanity's massive warships, had demonstrated their planet-killing abilities. After that, the nations of Earth had signed the peace accords and sent the Titans into hibernation, orbiting silently as a reminder and a deterrent. I'm sorry, John finally said. Lisa shrugged. It's fine, that's why I volunteered for... A loud beep cut her off. Both their consoles lit up with flashing alerts. What is that? John said, sitting up straight. Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her console. It's coming through on the deep space array, signal strength increasing. John pulled up the data on his screen. It's a pattern. Definitely not natural. His heart beat faster. In all of human history, no one had ever received a confirmed signal from another civilization. Lisa, I think this is first contact. She whispered, her eyes wide. The signal kept coming. A clear pattern of pulses that repeated exactly. John checked the source location. It's from the Epsilon Eridani system about 10.5 light-years away. That's impossible, Lisa said. We don't have any probes or ships that far out. Exactly, John said, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. This isn't human. Lisa looked at him. We need to call Commander Price now. John pressed the emergency comm button. Commander, this is Officer Wells. We have a Priority 1 situation in the monitor room. Within 5 minutes, Commander Allen Price rushed in. He was a tall man with gray hair and the straight posture of someone who had spent decades in the military. His eyes were sharp, despite being woken from sleep. Report, he said, moving to the main console. Sir, we detected a signal from the Epsilon Eridani system about 10 minutes ago, John explained. It shows clear artificial patterns. We've ruled out all known natural phenomena. Price studied the data, his face growing more serious. Have you initiated first contact protocols? Yes, sir, Lisa said. We're recording everything and have sent an alert to Earth Command. Price nodded, then pointed to a section of the data. This pattern changed. When? John checked the timestamps. About 15 minutes ago, sir. Price brought up a visual display of the signal. The regular pulses had become irregular with gaps and distortions. It's degrading. What does that mean? Lisa asked. It means whatever's sending this is in trouble, Price said grimly. Or was in trouble 10.5 years ago when the signal started its journey to us. John felt cold. You think it's a distress call? I think someone was asking for help, Price said. He straightened up and made a decision. Officer Franklin, establish a direct link to Global Defense Headquarters. Officer Wells, prepare a complete data package of everything we've recorded. Yes, sir, they said together. Price stared at the signal display, his expression dark. And get me the files on the sleeping giant protocol. Lisa gasped. Sir? The Titans? The peace accords specifically forbid. I know what the accords say. Officer, Price cut her off. But think about what we're seeing. An advanced civilization with the technology to send signals across light years is in distress. What could threaten such a civilization? And what if that same threat is headed toward Earth? John's mouth felt dry. You think whatever hurt them might come here? I don't know, Price admitted. But I'd rather wake our sleeping giants and not need them than need them and have them still asleep. As John prepared the data package, he couldn't help staring at the screen showing the fading alien signal. For centuries, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, but it came with a terrible warning. The cosmos had finally spoken after eons of silence, and its first word to humanity was a cry for help. Samantha Reed stood tall before the United Nations Security Council. The room was filled with representatives from all major Earth nations. As Global Defense Director, it was her job to explain the situation. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, she said. Her voice was steady, but inside she felt nervous. What she was about to share would change human history forever. 3 days ago, our lunar monitoring station detected a signal from the Epsilon Eridani star system. We have confirmed it is artificial and not from any human source. She paused to let this sink in. We are not alone in the universe. Whispers filled the room. Some faces showed excitement, others fear. Samantha continued. The signal appears to be a distress call. Based on the pattern degradation, we believe whatever disaster happened there occurred about 10 years ago, and the light is only reaching us now. The Chinese representative, Mr. Wu, spoke first. How can we be sure this is real? Could it be a mistake or a hoax? We've checked everything 3 times, Samantha replied. 3 separate AI systems analyzed the signal. All confirm it's artificial and shows signs of complex language patterns. This is no mistake. She pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a star system with several planets. This is Epsilon Eridani, about 10.5 light-years away. It has a star similar to our Sun and several planets. Our newest space telescope took these images after we received the signal. The image zoomed in on the 3rd planet. What should have been a blue-green world showed large, dark patches and strange patterns across its surface. These dark areas, Samantha explained, pointing to the screen, are consistent with massive orbital strikes. Something attacked this civilization from space, hitting them with asteroids or similar objects. The room fell silent. The Russian representative, General Petrov, finally spoke. And you believe this attack could reach Earth? We don't know, Samantha admitted. But if something can destroy an advanced civilization that had the technology to send signals across space, we should prepare for the worst. The room erupted in voices. Some called for immediate military action. Others urged caution and more research. The debate continued for hours. Meanwhile, in a secure room deep under the Rocky Mountains, Commander Greg Martinez watched the UN meeting on a private screen. With him were his top military advisors. They'll talk for days, said Captain Olivia Kim, shaking her head. By then it might be too late. Greg nodded. At 45, he had spent his entire adult life in the Space Defense Force. His dark hair was going gray at the temples and worry lines marked his face. The Titans were built for exactly this scenario, a threat from beyond our solar system. But they've been sleeping for 15 years, Major Daniel Brooks reminded him. Daniel was younger, in his 30s, and had never seen the Titans in action. Waking them violates the peace accords that ended the last war. Greg pulled up a classified file on his tablet. The accords included an emergency clause. In case of extinction-level threats, the Titans can be reactivated with approval from 7 of the 9 Security Council nations. And you think they'll agree? Olivia asked. They will when they see this, Greg said. He opened another file showing enhanced images of the alien planet. Our AI analysis found something else. Look at the pattern of destruction. It's systematic, moving from populated areas outward. This wasn't a random natural disaster, something was hunting them. Daniel leaned closer to the screen. What could do this? I don't know, Greg admitted. But I'm not waiting to find out when it reaches our doorstep. He pressed a button on his comm unit. This is Commander Martinez. I need to speak with the President immediately. Back in the UN chamber, the debate had reached a critical point. The Security Council was divided, with some nations still pushing for more research before taking drastic action. Samantha's tablet beeped with an urgent message. She read it quickly, then stood up. Delegates, I've just received new information from our military intelligence. They've completed an advanced analysis of the alien planet's destruction pattern. She displayed new images on the main screen. These patterns show the attacks were deliberate and systematic. Whatever destroyed this civilization was intelligent and thorough. It wasn't a random event or natural disaster. The Brazilian representative raised his hand. Director Reed, what exactly are you asking us to authorize? Samantha took a deep breath. I am formally requesting activation of the Sleeping Giant Protocol. We need to wake the Titans. The room fell silent. The Titans were humanity's most powerful weapons, 5 massive warships built during the last war. Each was several kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire continents. After the war ended, they had been placed in hibernation, orbiting silently in various hidden locations throughout the solar system. The peace accords, began the Indian representative, allow for reactivation in case of existential threats. Samantha finished for him. Section 7, Paragraph 12 of the Accord specifically mentions threats of non-human origin as a valid reason. The Japanese representative, Ms. Tanaka, spoke softly. If we wake the Titans, we risk another war. The last one nearly destroyed us. We don't wake them and something is coming, Samantha replied. We might not get a second chance. The President of the Security Council called for a vote. One by one, the representatives made their choices. The tension in the room grew with each vote. Finally, the President announced, 7 in favor, 2 against. The motion passes. The Sleeping Giant Protocol is authorized. Samantha felt both relief and dread. She had convinced them of the need. But had they made the right choice? She remembered the history books showing the destruction the Titans had caused during the last war. She hoped they would never need to use that power again. Her comm unit beeped. It was Commander Martinez. They voted yes, she told him before he could ask. Good, he replied. I'm already preparing the wake-up sequences. Behemoth will be first, followed by Leviathan, Colossus, Phantom, and Cerberus. How long until they're operational? Samantha asked. Minimum 3 weeks for basic functions, 6 weeks for full combat readiness. Samantha looked at the images of the destroyed alien world again. Let's hope that's fast enough. Across the solar system, in secure facilities hidden from public view, technicians received their new orders. Security doors that hadn't opened in 15 years slid aside. Computers that had been in standby mode suddenly came to life. 5 massive shapes hidden in the shadows of planets and moons began to show signs of power. Lights flickered on across their enormous hulls. Engines that could move mountains began their warm-up cycles. Earth was calling its war giants out of their long sleep. Humanity was preparing for a threat they couldn't yet name or understand. But they would not go quietly into the night. If something was coming for them, it would find humanity ready and waiting, with the biggest guns the solar system had ever seen. Kevin Nguyen pushed himself through the zero-gravity environment of Titan III, nicknamed Colossus. The massive warship had been sleeping for 15 years, but now its hallways were coming back to life. Lights flickered on as power systems reactivated. The air smelled of metal and recycled oxygen. As chief engineer, Kevin was responsible for waking the sleeping giant. At 42, he was one of the few crew members who had served on a Titan during the last war. He still remembered the destruction these ships had caused. The memories kept him up at night sometimes. Main power grid is at 30% and rising, reported his assistant Heather Douglas through his helmet comm. She was monitoring systems from the engineering control room. Life support is starting to stabilize in the central sections. Good, Kevin replied, using handholds to pull himself along. I'm heading to the command spine now. The Colossus was huge, 4 kilometers long from bow to stern. It was the third largest of the 5 Titans that humanity had built. These ships were designed to be self-contained war machines, able to fight for years without support. Each had living quarters for thousands of crew members, farm sections for growing food, and weapons that could destroy entire cities from orbit. Kevin reached a junction where 2 corridors met. He checked his tablet to confirm his location. The ship was so big that even veterans like him could get lost. I never thought I'd see these old monsters awake again, Kevin said as he continued his journey. You served during the last war? Heather asked. She was only 28 and had joined the Space Force after the peace accords were signed. Yes, Kevin said. I was an engine specialist on Behemoth, the first Titan. I was there when they signed the peace accords and put these ships to sleep. He paused at a sealed door, checking the air pressure reading. Back then I was glad. These ships killed millions of people. Do you think we're doing the right thing? Waking them up again? Heather's voice was quiet. Kevin thought about the images he'd seen of the destroyed alien planet. I don't know, but if something is coming for us, we might need them. Similar scenes were happening across the solar system as the other 4 Titans came back to life. On Mars' orbital dock, Admiral William Foster supervised the reactivation of Titan I, Behemoth, the largest and oldest of the war giants. Its massive engines, capable of moving the 2-billion-ton vessel between planets, slowly warmed up after years of cold sleep. Near Jupiter, technicians carefully tested the stealth systems of Titan IV, Phantom. This smaller, faster ship was designed for reconnaissance and surprise attacks. Its special hull could absorb radar and light, making it nearly invisible in space. In orbit around Venus, Titan II, Leviathan, began launching small drones from its many hangar bays. This carrier-class vessel could deploy hundreds of fighter, craft, and attack drones. Its crew started running drills for the first time in 15 years, and in the asteroid belt, the newest and most advanced ship, Titan V, Cerberus, activated its 3 AI cores. This vessel had been completed just before the peace accords were signed, and had never seen combat. Its systems were more advanced than the other Titans, with AIs that could control the ship, even without human crews. Back on Earth, people watched the news with a mix of fear and excitement. The government had announced that the Titans were being reactivated for training exercises, but rumors spread quickly. Military recruitment centers saw long lines form as young people volunteered to serve. Factories increased production of weapons and supplies. In her office at Defense Headquarters, Fleet Admiral Mary Carter prepared to address the newly assigned Titan commanders. Her holographic communication system connected to all 5 ships simultaneously. Good morning, commanders, she said to the 5 faces on her screen. As you know, the President has authorized full combat readiness for all Titans. We're calling this potential threat Harbinger until we know more. She brought up a display showing the solar system. Our mission has 3 parts. First, we will create a defensive line at the edge of our system. Second, we'll send 2 ships to Epsilon Eridani to gather information. Third, we'll prepare for full-scale war if necessary. Admiral Foster of Behemoth spoke first. My ship can be ready for the Epsilon Eridani mission in 3 weeks. We have the best long-range sensors and plenty of firepower if we run into trouble. Mary nodded. Approved. Phantom will go with you, running stealth reconnaissance. The other 3 Titans will form our defensive line. As the meeting ended, Kevin and a security escort reached the bridge of Colossus. The giant room was slowly coming back to life. Captain Laura Bennett stood at the command station reviewing system reports. Laura was a tall woman with short black hair and a reputation for being tough but fair. She had been chosen to command Colossus because of her experience in space combat during the last war. Engineering report, she said without looking up from her screens. Main reactors at 60% unstable, Kevin reported, pulling himself into a seat and strapping in. Weapon systems are coming online in sequence. We should have full power in about 2 days. Laura nodded, finally turning to face him. Good work. She pointed to a star chart on the main screen. Fleet Command just gave us our position. We'll be the tip of the spear for the defensive line. If anything comes through our borders, we'll be the first to fight it. Kevin felt his stomach tighten. The last time these ships had been in combat, millions of people had died, entire cities had been destroyed. He hoped humanity remembered the lessons of the last war, but feared what might happen if they faced something even worse than themselves. Do you think they're really coming? He asked Laura quietly. The captain's face was serious. I don't. No. But something destroyed an entire civilization more advanced than ours. If they're coming here next, we need to be ready. Across the ship, crews worked to bring systems online. In the massive weapon bays, technicians checked the planet-killer missiles and energy cannons. In the farm sections, agricultural specialists prepared to plant crops that would feed the thousands of crew members. In the medical bays, doctors set up equipment and stocked supplies for treating the wounded. Colossus was waking up, stretching its metal limbs after a long sleep. The war giant was preparing for battle once again. Kevin looked out a viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, something might be coming for Earth. He hoped the Titans would be enough to stop it. They were humanity's biggest guns, their strongest. Shields will be ready, he whispered to himself. Whatever's coming, we'll be ready. 2 giant ships moved silently through the darkness of space. The Behemoth and Phantom had traveled for 3 weeks to reach the Epsilon Eridani star system, 10.5 light-years from Earth. They were the first human vessels to journey so far from. On Behemoth's bridge, Admiral William Foster stood before the main viewing screen. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face marked by years of difficult decisions. His blue uniform was perfectly pressed, a habit from his 40 years of military service. Dropping out of faster-than-light travel in 3, 2, 1, announced the navigation officer. The stars on the screen shifted as the massive warships returned to normal space. The Epsilon Eridani system appeared before them, a yellow-orange star with several planets orbiting it. Begin full system scan, Foster ordered. His voice was calm, but inside he felt a mix of excitement and fear. They were the first humans to visit another star system where intelligent life had existed. Jason Clark, the science officer, studied the incoming data. He was younger than Foster, with dark skin and serious eyes behind round glasses. Sir, I'm confirming what the telescopes saw from Earth. The 3rd and 4th planets show massive damage from orbital strikes. The bridge crew fell silent as images appeared on the screen. The 3rd planet should have been blue-green with life, like Earth. Instead, large areas were blackened and scarred. From orbit, they could see the remains of cities, once great structures now reduced to ruins. My God, whispered someone. Foster leaned forward. Any signs of survivors? Jason shook his head. No active power signatures, no transmissions. The civilization appears to be completely gone. Foster felt a cold knot in his stomach. Whatever had done this had been thorough and merciless. Wait, called out Linda Parker from the sensor station. She was a small woman with short blonde hair and the best eyes in the fleet. Not physical eyes, but an instinct for spotting things others missed. I'm picking up strange energy readings from the outer edge of the system. Foster turned to her. What kind of energy? Nothing I've ever seen before, Linda replied, adjusting her instruments. It's moving. Foster straightened. Phantom, are you detecting this? Affirmative, came the voice of Captain Natalie Young from the stealth vessel. We're going silent now and will investigate. The Phantom, a darker and smaller ship than Behemoth, activated its stealth systems. Its special hull absorbed radar and light, making it nearly invisible. The ship moved toward the outer planets where the energy readings were coming from. For 20 tense minutes, the bridge of Behemoth was quiet. Foster paced slowly, waiting for Phantom to report back. Finally, Captain Young's voice returned. Admiral, we've found them. The image on the main screen changed. Foster and his crew saw strange objects moving among the asteroids of the outer system. They looked like giant mechanical spiders, each about 1 kilometer across. Dozens of metal legs or arms extended from central bodies. They were tearing apart a small moon, breaking it into pieces that they somehow absorbed. What are they doing? Foster asked. They appear to be harvesting, Natalie replied. Breaking down the moon for resources. We count at least 30 of them. Foster watched the footage with growing concern. Any sign they've detected you? Negative. They seem focused on their work. Foster made a quick decision. Maintain observation. We're sending this data back to Earth immediately. They need to know what we're facing. As his communications officer prepared the message, alarms suddenly blared across both ships. Energy spike, Jason shouted. Massive power surge from the machines. Phantom, get out of there, Foster ordered. A strange pulse of energy spread out from the mechanical creatures washing over both Titan vessels. Ship systems flickered but quickly stabilized. Status report, Foster demanded. All systems operational, reported his executive officer. But sir, they've seen us. On the screen, the spider-like machines had stopped their harvesting. They were now moving, forming into a new pattern. Phantom, retreat to safe transmission distance, Foster ordered. Behemoth will draw their attention if necessary. Sir, Linda interrupted, her voice tight with tension. They're moving. All of them. Changing formation. The mechanical creatures began connecting to each other, their limbs interlocking with precise movements. They were assembling themselves into a larger structure. Foster straightened his uniform. Open a communication channel, all frequencies. When the channel was ready, Foster spoke clearly and calmly. This is Admiral William Foster of the United Earth Forces vessel Behemoth. We come in peace, investigating a distress signal. Please, respond. For several long moments there was nothing but silence. Then something happened that no one expected. A message appeared directly on their computer screens, bypassing all communication systems. The message was simple, written in mathematical symbols that the ship's computers quickly translated. Organic life is inefficient. You will be harvested. Your technology will be assimilated. Sir? Linda's voice was tight with fear despite her training. They're accelerating toward us. Fast. Foster's jaw tightened. He had hoped for peaceful contact, but was prepared for this outcome. Send complete data to Earth. Priority Alpha. Message begins. First contact established with hostile mechanical entities. They appear responsible for the destruction of the Epsilon Eridani civilization. They are now targeting us. Recommend immediate full military mobilization. We will delay them as long as possible. As the message transmitted toward Earth, Foster turned to his weapons officer. Bring all combat systems online, shields at maximum. The Behemoth was the largest warship humanity had ever built. Its weapons could destroy planets. But Foster looked at the mechanical swarm approaching and wondered if it would be enough. Phantom has cleared to safe distance, reported the communications officer. Good, Foster said. They'll carry the warning home if we don't make it. The mechanical creatures continued to approach, now formed into a shape like a giant arrowhead. The Behemoth's weapons targeted them automatically, sir, Jason said quietly. These things, they destroyed an entire civilization more advanced than ours. What chance do we have? Foster looked around at his crew. Men and women who had trained for years for a moment they hoped would never come. He stood straight and spoke with confidence. He didn't entirely feel. We have something they don't, he said. We have humanity. We have the will to survive, to protect our home. And we have the Titans. He smiled grimly. These machines may think they're the top predators in the galaxy. It's time to show them they're wrong. The Behemoth's massive weapon arrays powered up, filling the ship with a deep humming sound. Behind them, Phantom slipped away toward Earth, carrying critical information about the enemy. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin. Not with handshakes or cultural exchange, but with the same violence that had apparently destroyed the Epsilon Eridani civilization. As Foster watched the enemy approach, he remembered an old saying: "The universe is dark and full of dangers. When you call into that darkness, be prepared for what might answer." Humanity had received another civilization's desperate call. Now they would answer with thunder. The war for humanity's survival had begun.